I did studied both dance and biomedical engineering. So then when I came here, I tried engineering, and that wasn't that engaging. So I basically dropped that and say, okay, what is my other thing that I studied? Let's try that and see if it works out better than the other things that totally sucked. Yeah. So I feel like I've been active for like three and a half years. I feel like it's just being present with people, and then them getting to know you, and then them talking, and then this person knowing you, and then when someone's like, oh, I'm looking for, they're like, oh, I know this person. I really feel like it works that way. Or at least the things that has worked out is really that way. Yeah, that's my impression, is kind of like, just because I'm doing what I want to do, I happen to have the skills that someone needs that they know I have because I've talked to them or related to them on some way. It's funny because somehow I feel like I've wanted, or at least like definitely last year, I was really specifically going after like, I want to tour. Like, or not, I don't know, want to tour. I just want to perform throughout Europe, let's say, and just show more people my work and get a different reaction, or see if there's going to be a different reaction, and just test out, yeah, expose myself to different audiences. Yeah, but somehow, I don't know, but somehow I'm sure, I don't know, at least for me, it's been kind of a funny thing that I feel like I'm investing a lot of energy in trying to go outside of Berlin, and somehow everything that works out ties me back to here. So I don't know how people are doing it, but somehow last year, the more energy I put outwards, the more opportunities happened within Berlin. So somehow I like really, a lot of the opportunities for my work or my interests have really just been here. So yeah, so I don't know what to say to that, because also it's not really happening for me. Not in a bad way, in a funny way, because I'm putting energy and somehow the energy is like going off and coming back on the other side. So yeah, so I'm trying to do what others are doing in the sense of like touring a lot and being, having less time here. Yeah, but somehow the opportunities that have been offered to me or that I've created for myself has been within my network, which is really here, or what I know, which is here. So in a way it kind of makes sense. One thing is negativity. Related, maybe it's a jealousy or envy or just those kinds of feelings. And connected is kind of, I don't know, making yourself small on purpose. I don't know.
So small, yeah?
Yeah, like, and they kind of relate to like propagating this image of struggle, poor, not doing so well. This image,
victimism.
Yes, just propagating that image. I find there's a ton of energy going into that, which I think is unnecessary personally. And the negativity in terms of like something that I really miss or wish to change is more verbal affirmation. Really creating a practice of, we're all applying to the same things. I totally get that. I mean, I get it. There's limited spaces, and some of us have to create our own spaces if you don't get this space, and all sorts of navigation that side, and we all know it. Like, that's really obvious. But what I would like to see is not this like, oh, I can't believe she got it, I can't believe he got it. Like, I get that. There needs to be space for like, oh, rejection fucking sucks. Like, it doesn't feel that great. But there's already so much like rejection encased within how the field functions that I think it would be great for a sort of counterbalance to it, to be like, oh, I heard you got the thing that I applied for and I'm so glad it's you. Because when I heard about this other person who applied, who is also cool, but I don't really like their work as much because of my personal aesthetics, but you doing it, like, yes, like if it's not gonna be me and it's you, like I was so happy that I know you personally and I can like say to you, because I already know you, like, yes, good job for doing that. Like, I just had this experience with Claire, who we both applied to the same thing. We were in the finals and I didn't get it. And Claire was so great because I was like waiting for she already got the response and I was waiting for my response because they all call on the same day. And she got it and I was like, yes, like there were like at least 6 projects. I was like, please don't give them, please don't give them. And she got it and I love her practice and it was a great idea and a great team. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. You know, and when I was messaging with her and then I got the call that I didn't get it and while I was messaging her and then I stopped the conversation, I was like, oh, I just got a call, I didn't get it. And she was like, no, how could it be? And I was like, no, it's okay, you have to like milk it for all it's worth for me and for you, you know, like do it, because at least one of us got it. If both of us got rejected, we would have probably like celebrated by like me paying for you for a drink or something like that, doesn't matter. But this kind of habitual positive affirmation I'd really like to see all the time, or 90% of the time, with the person that you're relating to. And I find that really lacking because I really find this like so drag of this like, ooh, like when I'm hanging out and talking about Tanstag and who gets picked and who doesn't get picked, like there's certain times that totally you really need to release that annoyance or frustration, things like that. But I don't know, like sometimes I'm like, yo, people, get friends outside of the dance world so you can complain for 20 hours and they won't care. But it's very challenging when this frustration is shared with people that is also in the same position or a similar position, or who got it and might feel shame about celebrating their acceptance because they don't know, you know, you're like already shitting on them indirectly or directly. And I find that really unfortunate and not supportive for the already like struggle of a life. Not places that I've related to, just because the content of my work is directly related to colonialism and contemporary racism, and on some level also gender, and in gender. So I think if you're not willing to create space for those topics, you probably won't talk to me, I would assume, unless you have some ulterior motive. But as yet, the people that I've related to create space for those topics and for me to talk about those. So yeah, I think it exists on every level. I think it exists within myself, prejudices that hopefully people will help me to gain more awareness on.
Would you mention one? In which dimension?
Or at least I definitely, or just because I've started doing 2 labs with Tanzfähig. Do you know them? Tanzfähig, this super cool Berlin-based organization organized by Bernhard and Evelyn, and they basically have contemporary dance / and or improvisation training classes on Thursday that's inclusive, meaning I don't think they would phrase it this way. Also, it's mostly in German, so yeah. But it includes a person of all abilities, meaning me or persons that the state recognizes as physically or mentally disabled. And they basically train dancers, and that it's inclusive. So yeah, anyone, quote unquote, can train every day, or not every day, every Thursday. But they also do workshops and they do tons of other stuff. So I did 2 labs there, and yeah, it's great because it's challenging me to confront directly my prejudice against persons that use wheelchairs as a part of their lives. Yeah, in a very, I mean, I'm also like facilitating the space, so it's real hardcore confrontation. Yeah, and it has, since teaching those 2 labs, it's really made me think about what thoughts I have when I see a person using a wheelchair. What do I think, why they're using it? What do I think about their attractiveness? What do I think about the sexual orientation? What do I think about what job they would have? And I think before I didn't really spend so much time thinking about it, maybe like a couple of times a year, honestly. But now, having taught 2 labs and having made mistakes, and thankfully having these people be super generous and tell me that I'm really being not inclusive and being mean and disrespectful on some level, and understanding that I don't mean it, I'm just really ignorant, and then them making space for me to be ignorant, and then being taught how to be a little bit less each day, which I really thank them for that and for the opportunity to learn this information. But yeah, and now I think about that a lot when I see, I mean, actually today I just saw an older man in a wheelchair, and a mechanical one, and yeah, I was like, okay, what are my thoughts? So that's the one that I'm currently very busy with. I think it is a privilege when you're an English native speaker. The dance scene in Europe is multilingual, kind of. Like, you know, for the applications in France, it's French and English. In Germany, most of the time, it's German and English. So I can almost always use my native language, therefore feel most comfortable expressing myself. And manipulating language in whatever way I want, because I've practiced it my whole life. So yeah, in this field, I definitely feel it's a privilege. Yeah. Other privileges. I have an American passport. This made it possible in the way that it happened for me to move to Berlin, that I automatically can come and automatically get 3 months without talking to anyone. I mean, then I have to go to the Ausländerbehörde, but even then at the Ausländerbehörde, they're separated, and I go into the nice building where all the other Western countries are, and it's all, I mean, there's less tears, you know, like building C has less people crying in it than building A, you know? So I find that a privilege. That I think about regularly because it's in my mind all the time. I do find it a privilege that I don't use crutches or wheelchairs or other kinds of things related to that, because meeting these people and them describing where is easy, where you don't have, they always have to think about it. Like really, they always have to think about access. And then something I learned from Claire Hunningham, who performed in open spaces, is about Hatsute is that there's showers, like there's no showers without stairs in Ufer Studios. So that begs the question, who do you expect to perform? What bodies do you expect to perform? And clearly bodies that are performing who kind of need to shower after you perform, or you would, you know, the option maybe won't be available to them without certain help. And then that was like, I had never thought about that ever. I definitely believe that my work does that, only because that's the place where I start from. Within each project or work that I make, a part of the process is to involve other people, and not really other colleagues. I really mean just people, mostly not, or because of logistics, it's easiest to find non-professional dancers who just love dance and like to train or do workshops and things like this. And we do a lot of storytelling. Like my practice usually involves just like talking about memories or talking about experiences. And what I would like to do with my work and within the process when I relate to these people is just share stories about themselves as a way of, and I usually have the context of colonialism or heritage or kind of how the past like gets into the present, and how it has happened for them. So like traditions of the family. One time I had this whole 3-day process with different people of traditions of the family and what that does for their nationalism, or how it relates to it. And so I feel like I really operate in that way on the one-to-one possibility of change. So if I have an Iranian woman who moves to the Netherlands, who experiences a lot of racism on a daily life, who's like a kick-ass lawyer who is also a beautiful dancer, and then I have this like quote-unquote super white, I would say pretty ignorant racist man, because also I receive racist comments from this man, even though he's happy to be there, which was really weird, you know, and they're in my class and they're talking to each other about an experience where she received a racist comment and she ended up crying and being really sad about it because she felt like she had no one to talk to except her family. And you know, and he listened. And then I created an improvisational score where they had to, like what I call the empathetic score, where they had to relate each other's emotions. And I don't know if it changed this person's life or changed her life. I mean, I know it does because she talked to me about it afterwards to say thank you for that experience. But so yeah, my work I don't think directly relates to the systematic stuff, even though I want to support like Conspiro for doing all the stuff they do to relate to that. But for me, involving people that are non-professional dancers also are, I mean, so far it's just because of logistics of like, how do I get money while I do this? It's just been easier to do that because professional dancers, I really have to pay for their time, and non-professional dancers, it's a training and experience for them, which they will pay for. So that's kind of how it's happened to be that crowd, which also I'm interested in. So I think by involving people in generating, creating material, thinking about the stuff that I'm thinking about, researching, like talking to people who deal with these topics in an academic way or in I teach 4th grade kids way, and asking them, how do you talk about colonialism till 4th grade, you know, Dutch children, like how do you do that? This interpersonal connection is the platform that I'm injecting energy into and hoping for change by really just talking to people, just storytelling, quote unquote. Performance events, probably like on a Sunday in the summer after lunch or during lunch or something, like outdoors in a park or some public space having a performance event or like a fair or something where there's like, you know, there's like a bounce about and a carousel or like a bubble action station or something that is super like parent-child friendly for that demographic. And then there's like a stage, whether that's on a physical stage or just on the grass, like spatially, to have dance happen. That the contemporary dance scene, let's call it that, isn't in these like inside buildings, but because somehow those are inaccessible based on like, do you know about them? But everybody like crosses public space at some point. But some like in the neighborhood, you cross this park. So architecturally, it'd be great if dance went out of the physical four walls that it inhabits, whether that's theaters or studios or whatever, and literally just injected themselves into the public space as a way of, hey, like where is the wider audience? Well, like outside, like, you know, like not to have this. I mean, there's totally other answers, but I think one really fun answer is creating some sort of carnival fair, open, what do they call it for the musicians? Like open air thing, but for dance. Like super fun. I go to all the music ones in the summer, like have a cold beer, sit with my friends, and you listen to the music and talk, and the engagement is a bit different. But
like
it's
the karaoke
fun.
in Mauer Park.
Yes, like the karaoke in Meyer Park. So weird, but like, you know, and you listen and you talk to your friends and go by and then come back. But it's fun. And I think it's like, yeah, it's good publicity, I don't know, or in the sense that I think maybe we would get access to people that if we're in four walls, we wouldn't gain access to, just like as one idea for getting out there, getting less insular, getting less closed off from the rest of Berlin. Thinking about it just like architecturally, I think it'd be fun, and I think if it worked, then it could be a way to generate money. Maybe probably not the first time, but maybe the second time. And I would be definitely interested in being on the team who is thinking of like games, you know, just like the game station and coming up with crazy games that don't really matter, but at least it's an activity for adults and kids to play, and I would play it, you know. I would love spending my creative energy doing weird stuff like that, you know, like artwork is great, but also I like games, and I wouldn't mind generating a game idea which would help us fund blankety blank blank blank. Not even my own project, but for something related to the dance world. Maybe opening up a new space for the dance scene, which I know is circulating in the air right now. It would just be fun. If you like organizing events or if you like organizing, coming up with new games to play for children and adults, like, and that also for me comes back to the idea of like, what if we were stopping to be an artist or something like that? I think more of artistry, the possibility of expanding the definition, expanding what that looks like. I mean, anyways, being an artist, being like a freelance artist involves being a marketing person, being your own HR, kind of, being a boss, being a manager, being a performance creator, being a videographer, being a light designer. You just, so many talents. And we use them for different reasons in different ways, and maybe like events organizer is already one of them for pretty much everyone, I would imagine. And maybe like game creator, which I would love to take on, would be part of my, contract. And I don't see that outside of the world of my job. and I would love to include it personally.